What up, everybody? I'm your host, JP, and this is my co-host, Josh.
Hey, everyone.
And it's time to let them come. This is the FilmBros podcast. What'd you mean by that?
That's what I was thinking.
What did you mean by that?
What do you mean by that? Optimus sus?
So today, guys, we're bringing you guys a movie review. But before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that all of our older episodes are on Spotify, on YouTube right now. If you guys want to recommend anything, all of our Twitter handles, Instagram handle is at FilmBros Podcast. No space between the film and bros. ! Podcast. If you guys are looking for those, if you guys want to listen to older episodes, and if you guys want to support us in a big way, Josh, let them know where they can let us know.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, FilmBros Podcast. That's our socials. Go ahead and hit us up there. Listen to us on the go anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you wanted to support us in a big way, Buzzsprout, links are in those bios. And you get special perks when you subscribe. So it helps us out, and we recognize that you help us out.
Yes. But let's just jump right in now. So we are reviewing a movie today, and if you guys didn't understand from the little piece in the beginning, Josh, let them know what we will be reviewing today.
Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, 2023.
For centuries, our kind has stayed hidden on Earth. But darkness has found us again. Prime. This is about the fate of all living things. Unicron is coming. You've never faced anything like this. Let them come.
Rise of the Beasts, the fifth movie in the... sixth, seventh?
It's supposed to be... I thought it was its own standalone.
Well, it's supposed to be like a prequel, right? So it's like the seventh movie in the Transformers thing, right? Because it's Age of Extinction. That's the fourth one. And it's the fifth one is the one with Unicron. And then it goes to Bumblebee. And then it goes to this. So it's the sixth installment, I would say.
Less, yeah.
Yeah, man. Sixth installment. Michael Bay not attached to this one. He wasn't attached to the Bumblebee one. They decided to go a whole different direction and try to give us something different. Got some 52% on the Rotten Tomato score from all the critics and a 91% audience score. Big disconnect there. I guess we're going to have to wait and see what side of the spectrum we're both on. But we got Anthony Ramos as Noah Diaz, Dominique Fishback as Ellen Wallace, Dean Scott Vasquez as Chris Diaz, Luna Lauren Velez as Brianna Davis. Nice little cameo from Toby. I don't know his last name. Toby Wigwe. He played Reek. He played the best friend, but he was also the musician on the soundtrack. He did a few songs. He produced a few songs for the soundtrack of this movie. Off the bat, Josh, I want to hear your thoughts, man. Director, real quick. Directed by Stephen Cable Jr. Now, he does have some credits to him, but not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. He did Creed 2, A Different Tree. That was like a short movie. And then he directed The Land. So the last real big movie he actually did was Creed 2. And I thought he did a decent job. So I was like, him coming in to work with Transformers, after what we saw with Creed 2, I thought, the fights were going to be legit. I will say that, I guess, straight from viewing afterwards, I don't think this was a terrible movie, but it just wasn't the Transformers movie I was looking for. And especially the way they kind of like promoted this movie, it didn't really sit right. And knowing his background with Creed 2, I thought he was going to bring a little bit more.
Something different.
I was expecting a little razzle with the fight scenes, and we didn't really get anything super spectacular with those either. So I don't know, a fair job on his part. I think he played it safe with this movie, did what he had to do. I think if maybe if it was a little bit bigger budget, because I think they cut them to 100 million on this one, and usually Transformers movies are like about 150, about 150 million. So I don't know, but straight out of theater experience, I guess, or out of watching it, felt empty.
Yeah, very average.
I'd say the movie felt empty. What was your perspective?
Well, it felt very average to me. Not much going on in this one, and it is very weird because I didn't even know he did Creed 2. You expected the fights to be a little better. If that were the case, maybe he was just withheld by budget. But if that's the case, I mean, I know we'll probably deep dive into it later, but maybe you don't have a big ass CGI battle, you know. But other than that, everything else felt pretty average. There was not much stakes going on. The characters were all right, I guess, but nothing too spectacular from either spectrum.
So you didn't really see this movie as like eye popping?
Not really, no. It had some moments where I was like, "Okay, that's pretty cool," and then the rest of it was like, "Yeah, no, this is fine." You know, like it's crazy how they just totally unbalanced it.
I will say that this movie does have some highlights in it. It's very like little nuggets in something that, you know, could have potentially been better, but just wound up not really working out too well. But what do you think of the characters? We saw some new ones. Like I said, we had Noah Diaz, who was a kid from Brooklyn. You know, they didn't let you forget about that throughout the whole movie. A kid from Brooklyn who was saving his little brother, Chris Diaz, which was played by Dean Scott Vasquez. We see that he just wants to help his brother. We wound up seeing that the Transformers are still there from the last movie, because this is supposed to be continuation from Bumblebee. Wound up getting tangled into this life of crime because he can't afford his brother's hospital bills. Wound up meeting Mirage. Mirage winds up taking him to the Autobots because the Optimus wound up calling him during mid-heist. The only people that can see whatever's happening is Cybertronian, so nobody else can see the giant beam in the sky. Noah Diaz is on board with helping the robots, and then we're just on a roll after that. Like, if I go into detail, you guys are gonna be like, this movie sounds very bland. So we just kind of roll into every scene.
Yeah.
There's some action. You know, they get to the piece, but it's not really the piece, so they got to go get the next piece, and then we get to the giant CGI battle, which, depending on how you feel as a Transformers fan, met your expectations or didn't. I mean, I've seen some people really love that final battle, and I've seen some people be like, well, this is nothing what we used to get. So, surprise, Autobots win the day. And then there's a little twist, and I think we're going to talk about that little twist towards the end. See where it might go, maybe give a little bit of theories to see what happens. But I recapped it, Josh. So what do you think of the characters within this movie?
I thought they were pretty cool. The main actor, I really do enjoy his work.
Anthony Ramos.
Anthony Ramos, like he was in In the Heights, and he's done a couple more things. That's what I know him from. I think he's a pretty decent actor. So I think he carried most of it. As far as the little brother goes, he was nice to have around. I kind of like their dynamic. You know, the whole he calls them Sonic and Tails. Like, yeah, that's cool.
Paramount product placing.
yeah. As far as
Pete Davidson,
yeah, he was one of the highlights, which I wasn't expecting. I thought he was gonna be very obnoxious and annoying, but he actually made me laugh quite a bit. So I was like, all right, he's not too bad here.
Yeah,
he's not too bad. And then I forget the chick's name, the one that kind of joined them along. Elena. Mm-hmm. She was cool. It's weird that she like took a back seat kind of, but
she could have been completely cut from this movie.
Yeah, that's why. Like, there was no need like to bring her in, sure, but like she wasn't as vital as I thought it would have.
I think her usefulness kind of ran out after the whole museum thing. Like, her usefulness was kind of like, okay, what else can you do? But then she kind of just knew how to do things. I think that was an issue.
Yeah, she was able to read Cybertronian apparently,
and she was able to like just face value just know if something was fake or not, which was crazy to me too. I was like, but no, but they didn't really dive deep into like why she was able to do that. She was just able to.
Yeah, she was just able to read.
The plot needs you to read it. You're gonna read it.
Yeah, and then she does her thing at the end, and where you're like, well, that might as well happen,
Yeah.
As far as the Autobots go, Mirage, I already said he's cool. Bumblebee, we got to see him again. Not as prominent, which I kind of hated. How do you take a back seat to the best, or not, arguably the best Transformer? You know what I mean? That's the one fans know from 2007. Like, he was everywhere. Like, he was the one kicking ass. Which I wasn't a big fan of, that they made him take the back seat. And then Optimus, he was all right, I guess, but. Well, I'm sure we'll dive onto him as its own thing, but he was kind of as far as the actual, what do they call them? The animal Transformers? I forget what they're called.
The Danimals. No, I'm just kidding.
They're fucking yogurt.
Yeah. They're called Primals.
Primals. The Primals. They were cool. It's cool. It was cool seeing them come to life.
And then the Scourge in them, they were the Terracons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many factions. I didn't even know that the lore went this deep.
I used to watch these as a kid, so seeing it come to life, it's better than what we got as a kid, because when like the Primals were coming out, I don't know if you ever seen the old clips of how they used to look. They look like shit, bro.
Yeah,
no.
It was like
so
their
bad.
first attempt with CGI or whatever.
Yeah, with like actual like transformations and stuff, and they did their best. But seeing them come to life, it's good. But honestly, they didn't really have a lot to do in this movie. Character wise, I did like Noah. I don't know if to you, but when I would watch him, and I watched this movie twice. I wanted to watch it a second time, and he reminds me like of a young John Lugamo. You remember? You know him? Lugamo. He reminds me like a young him. I don't know if you ever seen him when he was like younger.
No.
But like the way he talks, his mannerisms and everything like that, it's just like it just hits me just like how he used to when he was a young kid.
Yeah.
I'll show you a movie when he was like younger, and you'll probably see a resemblance.
Well, I've only seen him in that modern take on Romeo and Juliet. I guess that's like the last thing, the youngest I've seen him.
I don't think I've seen that one with him in there.
With Leonardo DiCaprio?
Oh yeah. He was in that one?
Yeah, he was there.
Huh. I don't remember that one. He probably was a smaller role in that one then. He had to be, right?
No, I think he was. Well, no, because he was in the beginning scene with the cars and stuff. I know it was like a completely different movie, but he was there. I think he actually had a pretty significant role.
I don't know, but either way, I liked the whole brother thing as well. It just sucks that there was no like stake that really hit hard for me to be like, oh, because he's supposed to be deficient, right, and be sick and all that stuff, but yet he was tougher than his older brother and did all that stuff. And yeah, that's supposed to be the persevering part, but towards the end, I thought you were gonna see like, oh, he's getting a little sicker. It's getting close to
he needs to be tubed up.
Yeah, like tubed up. Like something was bad about to happen, but he kind of just was like, I'm your little brother. I'm still looking out for you while you're looking out for me. And I was like, they really missed a shot at an emotional hit with that one. Same thing with Elena, though. I think that she could have been completely removed. Toby as Noah's friend, Reek. I loved him in that role. Yeah, I know he was a musician and everything, and I was kind of thinking like, I always think when you put a musician that doesn't know how to act in there, he's just gonna be dumb. But he just seemed like he fit in. I like the scene where he was like, he saw the cops behind him, and he was just like, oh, yeah, the way we're gonna. He just kind of like left him. He just like skirted off, and I was like, oh, okay. There's like some genuinely funny moments with these characters, and I think you can tell that they had such a good time when they were working with each other. It's just there's a lot of scenes that you could tell it just didn't make any sense, and why they they kind of just put the humans in this movie to have somebody relatable. But even then, Noah is supposed to be like this dude that can't perform and do all this stuff, and they don't even show him struggling with that at all. He puts his mind to it and does it. Not even in the beginning when he was like trying to break into the car, did he like have any issue with that at all? Like, he was stressed and he didn't want to do it because it was morally wrong, but he didn't have an issue breaking into the car.
Like with the physical act.
Yeah, like he could have been like, oh, I can't do this, and then bail out at the end. And then next thing you know, Mirage picks him up as like, hop in the car because you're going to get in trouble, because he actually flaked. But he actually got in the car. So why is Mirage helping a thief?
Basically.
Like, technically speaking, like, what happened? Wasn't there a movie where somebody was stealing one of the Autobots and they kind of like just put him in their place? No, am I tripping? Maybe it was a cartoon. I'm thinking it was one of the cartoons then.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, I was like, I guess that has to happen. I just felt like the humans were kind of put in here. It didn't feel as organic like in Bumblebee.
Oh, yeah, where she stumbled upon him.
Yeah, I feel like that was the most organic, like, Transformer human experience. I think even with Sam, with Mark Wahlberg's character, felt like, it was, how do you say, organic. Even with Sam, it felt like it was organic. Bumblebee's felt like it was organic. This one just felt like it was kind of forced. The characters were forced.
Yeah. I think I see what you mean. It's crazy because, yeah, all the circumstances really led him to that car. And obviously you don't know it's a Transformer till, we find out. But once you find out, Mirage is just like, I'm bringing him with. Like, it's very weird. Like, you would imagine it would have been someone else, or at least that would make it Elena or something, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Someone different, if that makes any sense. But they brought him along. But nothing too crazy out of any of them. Like, the Primals were pretty cool. Their motivations were interesting. Like, I think having the dynamic where I forget their names. I space out on their names. The gorilla.
Mm-hmm. Optimus Primal,
yeah. Where he was like, where his whole idea was like, you know what, I'm satisfied among the humans and stuff. Like, they took care of me here. Versus Optimus, where he's just like, I want to go home. Like, I kind of like that dynamic. I wish they would have played on it more, or I hope in future movies they do play on it more, because he was more of just like, because they lost their world, which is weird because I thought they would have been on Cybertron also, but I guess not.
Well, I know that, because it's supposed to pick up after Bumblebee, so they're supposed to be on Earth, and they're trying to get back, but it's like, so they were here, and they're trying to make a continuity with Michael Bay's films. But it's like, so they were here, but then they left, and then they come back.
Yeah.
Technically speaking.
So
how long were they gone? Did they leave in this one? I don't even think they
didn't leave.
They didn't leave, huh?
No.
So it's kind of like pointless.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they didn't end up leaving, which I thought they would have too. I thought that's where they were going. I was like, oh, they're going to go back to Cybertron. We're probably going to get an animated movie or something, because making Cybertron is a big bitch and a half, to make. But I just didn't expect that outcome to be like, okay. Because, after the big piece, we just cut back to the main guy, and then that whole ending happens. We don't even see what happens with
and
the
apparently you can obliterate whole Autobots and just put them back together. That's fucking cool. You know what I thought was so stupid and inconsistent? Mirage turning into a truck.
That's what I thought was dumb, too.
I was like, wait, how is he able to do that? I thought you were only able to transform into, like, what your body can extend to.
Yeah.
If that's the case, why wouldn't Optimus Prime just hide as a smaller car?
Yeah. Why was he consistently in a truck? Like Bumblebee,
he just likes trucks.
He went from being able to be what is it?
A Beetle?
A Beetle to another, like, Mustang. Or what was it at the end of, what was that? That's what he turned into, right? At the end of his movie?
At the end of his movie, he turned into the original Camaro.
Yeah, the Camaro. That's what I mean. So, like, yeah, that's the weird part. Like, how is he, like, that makes kind of sense.
That one could make a little bit of sense.
But a whole ass truck? Like, Bulkhead, you can't imagine Bulkhead turning into, like, a fucking Ferrari. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that wouldn't be
It doesn't work. That threw me off.
I didn't like I was just like, if that's the case, then they can easily just do shit. Does
that mean RC can turn into a car?
Yeah, she doesn't have to be a motorcycle. Yeah. So why be the little...
Why is her name RC? Like,
why not just transform into a tank at that point?
Yeah. Like Megatron did in the second one, right? That's what he was.
But that one made sense because he was big and he had a lot of parts, and then the tank was proportionate to his size. It wasn't like an overextended tank. but for some reason it's still, that one made more sense than this one. I think every single one made sense, but Mirage turning into a garbage truck made zero sense whatsoever.
I like that the primals had like 2 different forms. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it turned into actual like robots standing up.
Yeah,
and
they could
gorilla.
turn into actual animals, and then
like their disguise are the gorilla.
Yeah, like that shit's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what gorilla. Well, you'll see fucking with armor and mechanical parts, but hey, what can you do? He's way out there in like Southern Asia, just chilling.
Scourge also being a generic ass villain, that shit was kind of annoying too.
He should have been. He could have been so much more.
It was just a generic fucking villain.
That's the tough thing because they're trying to find these people that are like big threats that aren't Megatron, but that's the thing. They're not Megatron, and you can clearly tell they're trying to compensate, but it's not working.
I understand, maybe having some kind of guard for Unicron and them being kind of powerful like Megatron. It's just the inconsistency is crazy. He was able to whoop everybody's ass in 2.3 seconds, and then towards the end of the movie, he was getting his ass whooped.
Yeah.
I think the one that threw me off was the scene where they're in Peru and they're like fighting, and he's like, first of all, coldest line that Optimus ever said. He was like, first I'm gonna take back the key, then I'm gonna take off his head. And I was like,
yeah. He was cooking.
I was like, God damn. And then they ran for like a cool half a mile, and then the bird just comes in and it completely stops them, and they're just like, oh, till next time, bitch.
Yeah.
It's like, can't you just drive around? There's a big mountain right there that you guys can clearly fight on, but the Optimus is just like, I'll catch y'all ass on the next fade, homie. I'm like, I guess we just gotta wait for that final battle, but there was...
He was like, you're lucky there's hills right here.
Yeah.
You're lucky there's still a movie to keep going with.
Oh, this bird just burned the bridge? I guess I can't cross. It's not like I have a homie with a jetpack that can fly me over. I don't know. It was just... I felt that they could have tried a little harder with some of those things. And even the fights, too. The transformations. And I feel like the transformations are a big part of the Transformers character. Were atrocious in this movie.
So terrible.
The big thing that I had was that in every single movie, Optimus is this leader, and it was the biggest red flag as soon as the movie started. Optimus is always this leader. The first movie, epic. He fucking shows up, camera pans around, boom, he comes out. Second movie, he jumps out of a plane, epic. The music plays, 360 spin. The third movie comes around, he shows up again, boom, epic, triumphant music. Even when they find him and he's all beaten down, they still show that he is this leader. It's just, he's beaten in this one. And in this one, his first transformation was one off screen because it was passing by the buses, and he just kind of happened to do it. And then when they finally showed his transformation, nothing moved right. It wasn't fluid. It felt like clunky CGI, and that was all the Transformers transformations.
Yeah.
That one scene that's in the trailers with Mirage pulling in with his car, and then kind of throws out Noah.
Yeah.
And he kind of just walks off, and it's supposed to be cool. There's a couple frames in there that look off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
You can tell it's very green screen type shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the weird part, because I know I talk shit about it, but there's that scene in Bumblebee, right, where the Decepticons are they're if you can remember, first they're aircrafts, and then they transform, and then their cars before they transform into their selves, I guess. You remember that scene
in Bumblebee? Yeah.
Yeah.
The two henchmen.
Yeah. That looked cool. And while I do make fun of it because I feel like they only drove just to walk a little few more feet.
Yeah.
That was cool. Those were cool transformations.
Yeah. Those were clunky actual transformations.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. That's the bare minimum, but to have all of them kind of just shapeshift, transform off screen, it's why? Why would you do that? Show the whole point is to show us them transitioning. It's not like you have a CGI human, kind of like in Terminator 2, where dude is literally morphing off screen. No, you should be able to show us these things on screen.
Yeah, that's the money shot. People go to a Transformers movie to see their childhood Transformers fucking transform. Yeah. That's the big money shot. And when you blue ball me from the money shot, bro, like I said, it was major red flag. Optimus shows up on screen, rolling by in the rain. I'm over here like, oh, something bad's about to happen. And then, seeing the deleted scene, I don't know if you wound up seeing that, where like he has that opening fight with like this bus, and it was in that same spot and everything. It looked like they were gonna give him this big opening.
Oh, they cut that out. They cut out a whole fight scene.
They cut out a whole fight. I'll show you a trailer, or I'll show you the deleted scene. It's on YouTube. But I wound up seeing it, and I was like, that looked like they were trying to make it a big opening, but they were just like, I think they said in an interview that the test screening said it was too dark. They didn't want to see Optimus whooping ass like that.
That's fucking annoying.
And I'm like, well, I mean, we seen this motherfucker in the 5th part decapitate 5 people in a row. Yeah. At the end of this movie, he pushes some dude in some lava, or scourge in the lava, and he's like, literally, like, you could beg for your life, but you're gonna fucking die here. You know what I mean? Like, he watched him.
He took Megatron's fucking head and spine off.
Yeah,
bro.
Fucking double tap Sentinel on the ground.
Took the primes, took the Fallen's face.
Fucking flip Starscream, kneed him in the damn headpiece and threw him across the field. Like,
exactly.
Optimus Prime is meant to be this badass person. So even to like his character too. I know we've been on the character side for a while, but like there's a lot of characters in this one. Even the Transformers are supposed to have their own characters, but a lot of them were sacrificed to shove in human characters. And it's like, a lot of Primal's lines, and Primal's played by Ron Perlman. I didn't know if you knew that, but a lot of his lines and dialogue seems like they can hit a little bit harder if they focus more on the robots. Yeah. But then they undercut them, and then they show Elena crying for the bird, when in reality they had 0 screen time together. So why is she so sad? Because one of the Transformers winds up biting the dust. It's like, but you guys didn't even know each other. Yeah. And to them, there's this stranger invading your planet, and you're just trying to help them so they don't fuck up saving your planet. It's just the characteristics in this movie were just all over the place. It didn't seem like it was more for like the story to be driven. It was more like, hey, we need to put out a new Transformers movie, and there has to be spectacle. People want to see fights, because the last one was told that there was not enough fights. It was boring. We need to bump it up a little bit. Yeah,
but enough fights. But if it's too dark, we don't want it. Like, that's dumb. Test screenings are so dumb. I find it really weird that, because they think that's general audiences, but I'm pretty sure you don't have a single Transformers fan in that bitch. They're just like, oh, I'll get a free screening.
Test screenings are usually like for people around their block. So like if Paramount's doing it, they're probably gonna ask some lower end employees or whatever, hey, you guys want to see this screening or whatever of this movie? We want to get your guys' notes, what you guys think about it, blah blah blah, and then move on. And then eventually they wound up doing random test screenings for random audiences from around the world, or if people show up and blah blah blah. But for the most part, it is their people first. And though they could be on the money and be like, yeah, this is nice, but to cut off a whole fight scene that your badass superhero is supposed to, like, your badass robot is supposed to be like top tier, why would you show off skimping out? The beginning of the movie, where they were like, when that gorilla is like, oh, now you're Optimus Primal, but I'm going to stay back and hold off Scourge, and he fucking goes down in 2.3 seconds. I felt nothing.
Yeah, you can't feel for him.
We don't know him. You didn't give him a badass moment to establish who's the hierarchy. You know what I mean? We're told that Scourge is the hierarchy. Mm-hmm. We're told that, what was that line when he gave to Optimus when he's like, oh, I like that look of confusion when a lesser being meets a higher power. Yeah. We are being told that, but we didn't know that. From our knowledge, Optimus went up against, like I said, Sentinel, all these people. Yeah, that was earlier on, but then this was the dude that sacrificed himself to fight at Cybertron, and he was whooping ass in the game. So why is it that in this one, we don't get an established, like, where the Autobots fit in the food chain regardless, because as the very first time we seen them get their shit rocked. and then for some reason against an army they were able to hold their own at the end of the movie. There was no in between. You know, like we saw them get their shit rocked in the beginning, and then at the end against the whole army, they're able to just fight them.
Fine. That's
no casualties too.
That's the weird thing though, because middle of field type shit, yeah. But that's just the weird thing, because like you're established that they do something badass. Like if Optimus, like if that first Optimus Primal dude was like kicking ass and he was handing Scourge's ass before he died, kind of like how Optimus was before he died in the second one, that would have been perfect. Make me feel for this guy, because okay, we established he's badass. Homie is losing a mentor, but you lost your mentor in a bitch way. So it's like, what the fuck? Like even I wouldn't be like, damn, he went out like a bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way to just bridge that piece there. Because now we're like, oh, he didn't do anything fantastic. You're telling me he was this guy's mentor and leader, but he didn't do anything worthwhile. Which brings me on to the whole, like, the henchmen, I guess. Like, I didn't like that. Again, they just don't have any room to play with actual Decepticons and things like that. So they had mini fucking Transformers or robots or whatever the fuck they were called.
Oh, the two on the side.
The two on the side, and then obviously the end battle. They just created millions of them or whatever. And you're just like, that's lazy. That felt very lazy. Like, I'd rather have a nameless Decepticon big ass robot versus nameless Autobot big ass robot. Not Mirage or whatever versus a small ass little thing, because you're just like, well, they're like foot soldiers. Punt the fuck out of them. Like, why are these things a challenge? Oh, because there's so many. Clearly, you're a 10-foot fucking robot. You should be able to stomp these things out,
squash them out, or something. Yeah, and that's gonna kind of bring us to like the world building and kind of the plot of this movie too, because that was another thing as well. It seemed like the Autobots didn't have a lot of Autobots in this one. It kind of was like they didn't have the money or the budget to add more Autobots or anything like that. I mean, we saw Ratchet. I mean, in every single movie, I think there's at least 6 Autobots that you can see. 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Except for Bumblebee.
Well, they add on.
As the movie goes on.
Yeah, as the movies go on.
Yeah. In this one, we only saw the 4 Autobots that we seen, which was Mirage, Bumblebee, the race car one, RC, and Optimus.
Well, there's Wheeljack. He was the van. Oh
yeah, for like what scene? And then at the end of the movie, and then you get obviously the Primals, which was the bird, the rhino, the gorilla, and the leopard. And then you got the Terracons, which were the 3.
Scourge and the
other 2.
Henchmen.
Yeah, and then Unicron in the background. I would say like the dark side of the movie, right? Like he's supposed to be that big bad where you're supposed to feel his presence.
Yeah.
But in this world, you don't really care, you know. Like you're just like, I know you're not gonna make it to this fucking planet. Yeah. I already know that how this movie's gonna end. If we're already pushing past all the obstacles with ease, because how the fucking Terracons know they were going to Peru? How the fuck did they know they were going to Peru?
I didn't know that shit. I don't know how. I couldn't tell you. They don't tell you.
Terracons.
All they say is that, oh, if she figured it out, they probably figured it out. Yeah. We're just like, how? They didn't have any peace.
How would they know?
Yeah.
Like they've been on Earth. No, they just got here. How are they gonna know anything about any kind of like wording or anything like that? No, they're gonna know. And then they wound up using the plot device. Oh, we're gonna shoot the bird, and now all of a sudden we know where they're going the whole time. But if they would have done that sooner after the first battle, it would have had that tension. Like, oh, now they're following them. They're on their trail. Anywhere they go, they're going to be on their ass.
Yeah.
But they do that after the Peru thing. And it's kind of like, well, at that point, you know.
Yeah, even before that, when he's like, oh, we won. Like, we got the piece. Unicron, you're coming. Unicron's just like, you dummy, there's 2 pieces. Like, they broke it in half. And, like he was able to use the Force on Scourge. They go talk about that. Like, I don't know what his presence is. I barely know a lick about Unicron. So like, I know he's just this big planet. I know in the animated movie, the 90s one, I think he actually transforms and he's like this big ass like thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, that's cool. I would have loved to see that, but you don't. He's just another ball. Like he's just another Galactus Storm, like for Fantastic Four type shit. And you're just like, well, that's kind of
another
whack.
Green Lantern, big CGI cloud monster.
Yeah, like it doesn't work. You can't tell me that he's this like if I know that like a basic knowledge person knows this motherfucker can transform. Show us he can transform. You know what I mean? Don't be lazy about it. And he's just this big presence. Like, no, show me he can fucking do that, and then make it a big thing.
Why wouldn't they like? For more intimidating value, why make him just this giant earth ball with eyes that is like, you made me mad? Why not? Why not? You know, like, why not just be a robot when he's, you know, it's in his head anyways, because they established like they're not actually in front of each other. Why not in his head? He's this all ruler, transformed big giant or Decepticon, whatever, Unicron, and it's like, fucking do what I gotta, what I'm telling you, or you're gonna fucking die. You know. Instead, he's just his balls like, I'm mad.
No, you didn't get the piece.
You got the wrong piece. Give me the right piece. The world building with this one, it didn't really feel like what they did with Bumblebee, and I felt like with Bumblebee they did a lot of world building, from Cybertron to, you know, Earth, and how the relationship was actually developing. I didn't get a hint of Optimus having some resentment for human beings in Bumblebee at all, but in this one he had that resentment, and though he didn't like him and didn't trust them, one of them backtalks him, and he's just like, well, I guess
pretty cool.
I guess you'll come along for the ride. It's like, just leave him there. You got what you needed. You know where you're going now, because the girl just blurted it out loud. They are no longer useful to the story. Just leave them. And they just brought him along because homeboy was like, I ain't gonna leave my planet to no bitch. And he was just like, oh, homie, slide through.
Like,
Optimus is like, nah, we'll help each other.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's not like Sam. It's honestly not like Sam. And I know they gave him that cool suit or whatever toward the end, but I didn't really like that they did that. Because now it raises the question, which is big spoiler, but like, is Mirage dead now? Is he just that suit that he can wear? Like, what does that mean? You know, like I didn't get that.
At the end, we seen that he got rebuilt.
Oh, he did? I didn't see that. Maybe I just.
At the end, he gets rebuilt. Like, he rebuilds them out of like parts and shit like that.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, WTF to the big ass, like, do Autobots not die? Everybody else died.
Well, do Decepticons not die either?
Jazz got ripped in half and he died. You're telling me that he could have just been put back together?
Yeah. Ratchet
He
got blown to bits.
Well, he got his energon taken out. That's a different thing. The dude actually like took out his whole spark. But like the ones that get ripped, broken, they could just be put back together and be brought back to life. Starscream, he lost his head in the Moon one, but then I believe in the fifth part, you see the Scrapper bring back his head and it's all put together. Why wouldn't his head work?
Yeah.
You know? So it begs the question, how does living and dying work for Autobots and Transformers in general?
They could have brought back that Einstein guy if that was the case.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, Bumblebee dying in the beginning, and, you know, I will say in that scene, I did kind of feel something, but then after the scene, I was like, well, he has to come back. He has to come back. So
yeah.
I was like, how are they going to bring him back? I was actually intrigued in that. I was like, okay, well, they're going to have to bring him back, so how are they going to do it? They just brought him back off screen. They didn't make a big deal about it like they did with Optimus Prime and Revenge of the Fallen, where, you know, the human actually needed to help him. No, it was just like, Scourge flipped a trigger, and, you know, Bumblebee so happened to be in one of the most energon-rich places, and, oh, now he's back. You know?
Optimus is like, B.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, you know, as he's like coming out of that little chopper, and I'm just like, well, damn, that's cool and all, but not well deserved. Like, it doesn't work out too well. I don't know. There was a lot going on, and I know they try to raise the stakes by trying to kill these people, these robots, make us feel for them. But I mean, we've known B forever, and while I did kind of feel something in that moment, again, I was still just like, well, we know he's coming back. Like, if I know they probably can't, but say they would have done Bulkhead, right? We know Bulkhead from the cartoons, right? Imagine if he was just a one and done, like they did with Jazz. Like, I probably would have felt a lot more for that. I would have been like, wow, they're go. Like, it would have been cool to keep him around, but I understand they're trying to raise the stakes and he had to go. I would prefer that over, oh, no, they die, but we'll bring him back. Don't worry. And I'm just like, why? No, you should be able to leave him dead.
I felt bad for Mirage for a second, and I was like, man, like, they actually killed him off. I was like, okay, that's why they hired Pete Davidson. They're just going to kill him off. 2 seconds later, nah, man, I'm good. I'm still alive. Here, take my body and use it as a super suit.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm like, okay, he used his last. I was like, I guess, it's kind of like when they take their dying breath. They're like,
oh my God.
It's like, bro, just die. Like,
God.
just fucking die. So then he comes back, has one last breath one more time. You get the boom, boom, boom fights or whatever. And then towards the end of the movie, you find out that all that wasn't even a sacrifice anyways, because you're just able to build them back to life. That's all you got to do is just build them back to life, and they're good. I'm surprised you didn't see that part.
I must have been looking away or something for a brief moment. But, like, that's the thing. Oh, even then, because how'd they rebuild him with no Ratchet? I thought he was the medical guy.
Apparently, if you're from Brooklyn, you could put anything back together. Shout out Brooklyn.
They just pieced them together like a normal car.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of crazy.
That's basically what he did. It was like different parts from different vehicles, and he pieced them together like the same model as he was supposed to be, which begs the question again, why didn't you just build him as a truck?
I know, give him a wide body. Like,
yeah, just so you can have him do that. But no, it was used as a gag at the end to basically.
I think it all just kind of falls short, and I think we talked about it already, but transformation and design, I do not fuck with these Gen 1 looks, man.
It's ugly.
Like, I know, I get it, and I know he's probably gonna be like, oh, but like, they're accurate and they're whatever, and I go, no. I would rather see gears working like how they were in the Bay movies versus this, where it's just, oh, there's no gears, it's all faceplate, and it's like, it's actual face, and it's not, you don't see anything move. He's just now this stick figure type, because now he's not capable of changing either. Like, that's boring.
The thing is that I think Bumblebee got it at a perfect spot, right? Where it was that cross between Michael Bay's and Gen 1, like you were saying. It had that clunky feeling, but they still transformed, and you can see the pieces a little bit.
They try to do their best with it.
Yeah, and it looked good. I personally prefer the Michael Bay stuff because, well, let's be honest, it was real parts. It was clunky and at the same time fluid in a way. So, like, certain parts would move really easily, and other parts where you would see actually slam and hear plink as it moved.
Like a real fucking robot.
Yeah, like a real fucking robot. And I know a lot of people don't fuck with, like, Optimus's style in the, like, I think they say, like, in the original 3 or even in the last 2, the 4th and the 5th one.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, those are way better than what we got in this one. I love them in Bumblebee too, so I don't know why they changed them from Bumblebee to this one, like this. It's just that it didn't look right. Transformations didn't look right, and it didn't work.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. And what does Scourge turn into?
A truck, like a tow truck.
He was a truck,
like a tow-mater.
Wait,
without the
he was the truck?
He was the tow truck.
I thought that was the other guy.
No,
because one of them was a jet.
Yeah,
I know that.
That was the 2 bad guys.
Yeah, but I thought he was
the other big dude was the one with the wrecking ball or whatever. He had like
the tow truck.
Yeah, he had like a wrecking ball. No, the tow truck. It was like a tow-mater truck.
Oh,
he was like he looked like the Jeepers Creepers truck kind of.
Okay.
And he had like the grill was full of like his
insignia, whatever the
not
fuck.
the insignia, the different pendants from like different people he killed. You know, the ones that you saw on his arm that he put on from Bumblebee. It was all up in his grill.
I know he's supposed to be enhanced or whatever, because of working for Unicron, which we've seen it happen before. You work for Galactus, you become the Silver Surfer, you can be the Ghost Rider for the Devil, things like that, right? I wish they would have kept going at that. Show us what's underneath all that fucking upgrades. You know what I mean? Because I thought they were gonna make it a big deal when when they took off his little faceplate and you can kind of see like what's underneath. I thought they were gonna make it more of a big deal, like, oh no, he's just a normal Decepticon underneath all that big armor that Unicron gave him. But no, they didn't even pursue that.
Just took his mask off, and it was like, it felt like a ripoff from Revenge of the Fallen, where he was like, "Give me your face," kind of thing. It was just that. One thing I do want to get to before we get into like comparing and stuff like that, it's the soundtrack. I personally find this movie to have the second best soundtrack in all of the Transformers. I think Linkin Park's undefeated with all three of their original songs from the original trilogy. So I don't think anybody could top those. But the soundtrack in this one, man, this one goes pretty hard. I enjoy the Brooklyn style that the Brooklyn flavor that they added to the soundtrack, and the New York rappers and all that were lined up throughout this movie. I think we're just not in that era anymore, which sucks because I really like the era where it was like rock to really promote the movies. Even with 4 and 5, Transformers 4 and 5, there was Imagine Dragons. They were the ones that were doing the music for them too, and I like their songs too. But I think Linkin Park really cemented themselves as like the top tier Transformers. And I will say Rise of the Beast comes in second.
I think that's because well, not just era. I know 2007 was like a big year for Linkin Park,
rock and all that in general.
And like maybe it's just bands aren't doing it as much anymore, because Green Day was all over second Transformers.
Yeah, they were. But they Linkin Park still made that original song.
He was in all of them, but like you can get that rock punk feel from like most all of them.
And it's crazy because rock is making a comeback. Like if you notice, there's a lot of like rock nowadays too, and a lot of like early 2000s rock that's basically coming up.
Yeah, people are trying to revert back to that, which is fine. And until it starts coming back and being in movies again, it'll change. But for now, it's just gonna be rap and remixing old stuff. Like I really like that they did that with the with Biggie in the commercial in the trailer.
Yeah.
So that was cool, and I did enjoy every time they use an old song like that. I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah,
because I'm just like, okay.
There was a few original songs like On This Line, and it was by Toby when they played it when they were. I think it was at the end when Noah was like in his suit and everything. That got me hyped. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, the music really gets you hyped in this one. You're just like, ooh. It sounds like a gym playlist, and you're just like, fuck yeah, like they're about to go.
Like that's why I kind of enjoyed B's return, where you're just like, don't call it a comeback, and then he's like doing his business. So that was kind of cool. There is some nice gems with the music. They do get creative.
Yeah. So soundtrack wise, I will say they kind of nailed it on the head with that one. So obviously we're getting towards the end here, but I wanted to do something here where this is the second entry, like I said, after Bumblebee. This is the second Transformers movie that we've seen without Michael Bay. Michael Bay has done 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Bumblebee was handed the keys to somebody else, and now Transformers: Rise of the Beast. I want to compare, I guess, director styles and which movies are superior, I guess you can say. Would you say that Transformers: Rise of the Beast goes above the original trilogy, or at least the original 5 with Michael Bay, or is it underneath? How do you feel?
I would say it doesn't beat the first 3. I think the first 3 where just do crazy shit and continue to up the ante every time. Like you don't expect that, and it's crazy because they did it without a big CGI henchman battle. Like sure the third one is, but that's just because they were raising the stakes. But everyone was basically
they built up to that.
Yeah, there was basically a lot of like well-known Decepticons still around for Optimus to continue fighting, and then you could just be like, oh, that's so and so. And so they like it worked up, and while most of the army were just around in the third one, you were just like, well, we don't really care about that. We want the heads, like
Soundwave,
Sentinel, Soundwave, Megatron, like those. They continue to show them. It's not like the henchmen took the front seat, So yeah, I would put it above 5, but not the first 4.
Above Transformers 5.
Yeah, the last 9.
But not Extinction.
Not Extinction. Not the first.
Okay. I feel the same way. Obviously we've been seeing. Let's compare. Obviously we already said soundtracks. We know Linkin Park's superior, but
great.
and transformations. We talked about that too. Action, practicality, that glove that, we seen the glove in the third one where, he gives it to him and then he winds up using it as a grapple to kill Starscream, Shia LaBeouf's character. And this one, he kind of tosses it to him. And they make the little joke, and I thought it was funny. He was like, oh, don't ask me what part that came off of. And he was just like, what the fuck? Yeah. But like when he was putting it on, it is that nanotechnology, and it kind of just did it.
Like if it was Iron Man from Civil
War. And it looked fake.
Yeah.
It looked so fake. And it didn't even look like a real glove at all.
Yeah.
And then explosions as well. When Michael Bay would do explosions, to me, they'd feel a little bit more realistic. It'd feel more like, the explosions actually doing damage to these Autobots. And in this one, it kind of felt like explosion. They kind of get hit and they brush it off and they keep going.
Yeah.
Even that beginning scene with the gorilla, like I said, it was meant to be triumphant. Like, oh, I'm gonna hold them off. He blasts him one time.
He gets folded faster than a lawn chair.
The arm splits a little bit, and it's not like oil comes out, or it doesn't feel realistic. It's just more like it's just pieced. It's just a piece. It doesn't feel like an actual explosion went through his body.
It's not like, rest in peace, Ironhide. But it's not like when Sentinel does Ironhide and he feels it, and then I don't know, whatever, depending on whatever gun it is, and he just starts rusting away. Like, it's not like that. It doesn't give you that feel.
Well, I'll take you a step further with that one. Like, he hit him, right? He shot him. He wound up hitting the floor, and then you see him basically not deteriorate. You see his head kiss the floor. Like, his head hits the floor, and then his jaw's fucked up, and he's bleeding out of his mouth, as well as, from being shot, and then he gets shot again, and he deteriorates. He breaks apart slowly, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
This one, he gets blown, his arm gets blown in half, and it just felt like a human body instead of a robotic body.
Yeah.
And so that made it feel really empty, like it wasn't real. So I guess the question is, how would you compare the explosions, the practicality of it all? Like, do you feel like there's a huge difference? Like I do.
There's obviously a huge difference, because if Transformers could give a piece of themselves to humans, then what was the point of having Sam be in danger all the time? If this exists, all right, and whether it's a new universe or it's a prequel, whatever, why in universe wouldn't they use that more often? Like, what was the point of Sam riding shotgun, being scared for his life, and then Bumblebee having, like, they're cool scenes where Bumblebee, like he'll transform, catch him, and then transform back into a car, like, just to keep going. Like, that's cool, but what was the point of that when you could just have him in a suit and he'd be safe, It doesn't make much sense. So the practicality right there is already gone. At least when I forget his name, I'm gonna call him Einstein, but at least when he's like, oh, I made these gadgets, like, they're really cool, like, and you expect them to work, but obviously they're still in, like, the prototype phase, they malfunction, things like that. Like, you felt that. Here it was like, oh, I don't even know how this works, with and
then he just blasts one out of nowhere, and he's like, oh, it shoots this whole time.
Yeah, it shoots, it's a flashlight, like, it does all that, and you're just like, well, okay. I mean, I guess.
Even the drive with Mirage in the beginning when they're on the bridge running from the cops, that one felt forced. Like, that one felt like it was just supposed to be comedy. Kind of like when they were driving and the cop is just bumping him in the back, and then he's like, do something, and the cop bumps him one more time, and he goes all the way and flashes his high beams at him. I'm like, why would you do that? Because in the next frame over, he does the whole transforming thing, turns him around just so it could look cool, and then does the Mirage thing and loses the cops. Why didn't you just do the Mirage thing and lose the cops? Why would you like, I understand showing off, trying to be like
spectacle,
trying to be like Bumblebee and be like spectacle, but even then, like I said, in the original ones it was more organic. Bumblebee was fucking around with Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox's character. What'd she say? Oh, why does he turn back into this piece of shit Camaro? What does he do? He fucks with them in a funny way, right? He lets them out of the car. He goes around. I do find that scene where he's like on two wheels a little goofy or whatever. But he scans the car. He comes back around, picks them up. He fucked with them, and then came back in a cool way.
2007 new Camaro.
Yeah. And so I felt like that was more organic than the chase scene that they were doing in this one. And maybe that was also because I was still snagged on that part too, where I'm like, why is he even in this car? Like, he shouldn't have been in this car. They should have actually played it out a little bit differently, but they, maybe I was still snagged on that, but that shit kind of pointed out to me, like, bad, too.
Like, it would have been, like, just right out the gate. I know we're still comparing and stuff, but just to paint the scene a little better, right? Imagine he breaks in, whatever, and instead of Mirage trying to lock the door and force him out, what if he was, like, I know they did this, but what if it was more of just, like, he gets out, he's like, nah, man, I don't really like it. He tries to bail, and then homie's just like, nah, we're going for a joyride now. And then, like, they bump out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's stolen. It's more like Mirage is getting back at him for basically
trying to steal him.
So he takes him out for a joyride, and he's just like, this is what you get, whatever, so on and so forth. And then give him the call from Optimus or something like that.
Yeah.
But, like, don't make it sound like homie got in the car and then last minute he bails. Like, no, Mirage should have, if he was this playful figure, he should have been like, nah, now we're going for a whole joyride. I'll
do you one better. Another thing that would have worked a little bit better than what they did was maybe working on Noah's pride thing. I know they were saying, like, oh, he's not good at anything and he's trying to raise money for his brother. But what if he's doing the best that he can to not show his brother that he's out here, stealing and robbing to pay the bills, like that he's doing the best that he can for him and show that his brother is sick. And then, when he gets pulled in by Mirage or whatever, it's like the money thing would have made a little bit more sense. It would have been like, okay, I really need this money. I'm taking care of him, show that emotional aspect. Like, I can't fail this kid.
Yeah.
Instead of him being like, oh, you better leave my brother alone. I'm still got your back. Sonic Tails, whatever. Product placement in Paramount.
It's the craziest thing then, right? Because his illness is basically null and void by the end too.
Yeah.
By the end of it,
he saved the world, so his illness is cured.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, now he's not sick anymore. I don't got to worry about it. But like that shouldn't have been the case. There should have been a little bit more of you, either him more sick or him doing more fucked up shit to want to save him that much.
And that would have made that big reveal at the end a little bit better because they paid his bills and everything, and now there's that sigh of relief. Like, oh, we felt like we lost, but at the end of the day, he wound up winning, secretly winning, kind of like what happened with Shia LaBeouf. He's like, oh, I got the Medal of Honor, but nobody believes that I saved the world, and it's kind of like that with his brother.
Yeah.
I can tell him these stories, but he doesn't believe that I saved the world. But then I saved the world and I saved him, and it just didn't work out. So I just think a lot of this movie falls flat.
Yeah,
100%.
There's not enough stakes, and by the end of it, whatever stakes they do have, they kind of just like disappear.
They have zero stakes,
but
no A1 sauce.
But yeah, a lot of the practicality kind of vanishes once because that's the thing, right? They want it to be more of the fantasy side versus the realism side, which is a lot of what we got with Michael Bay was kind of real. But they just want to throw that away because they want to do all this. But it's like, well, while we do understand that, like, yeah, we want action stuff, but we also want it to feel real. I think that's why a lot of the Bay films, they have a lot of real moments between all the action and explosions and things like that. Like, you feel for Sam, you feel for Mark Wahlberg's character, and even honestly, even Haley Steinfeld's character, you feel for her in Bumblebee. Here, you're just like, okay, they might as well.
The humans were absolute idiots in this one.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid. Because in the first 5, in every single one, the humans are, like, involved, right? The military and all that, because they're like, oh, there's a threat to our planet. We need to, defend ourselves. Let's align with these robots to do that. And every single movie is like that. Even in Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Like, they had, not at a grand scale where there was a bunch of soldiers, but John Cena wound up turning a tail and wound up helping out, all that stuff. This one, no army, not on their radar. It's like they just didn't have the CGI to, like, put actual people in there or whatever. It was empty. That by the end there was no stakes, and you felt 100% like the humans didn't need to be there, because at one point they were like, oh, the only people that can make it on this pathway are these 2 small humans. But then later on, we see Optimus on the pathway. We see Mirage on the pathway. Like, they could have easily done what those 2 humans did, but because they needed them, they didn't do that. I'm like,
it's so weird because the key, they find the key because of the giant beam in the sky, right? There's no stakes there for anyone else to see it. Like okay. the ending people know it, but special forces, army, whatever the fuck, see behind the secret agent type shit going on, and you're just like, oh, that okay, maybe that makes sense, but there should also have been humans being like, what the fuck, there's a giant beam in the sky, like make this the first thing, but they can't do that because now they're also trying to hang on the fact that it's a prequel to 07.
That humans don't know about it just yet, but it doesn't
that
make
beam in the sky would have been the perfect, like, what the fuck.
But shouldn't Sector 7 know about it? Shouldn't they have been involved covertly? Like it would have made more sense if Sector 7 was involved because they were in the middle of everything. They could have brought John Cena's character back, been like, hey, he's part of Sector 7. He met with the robots before. He's one of the leading people. And then later on, plug it into the 07 ones. Like, oh, yeah, he's one of the founder ones or whatever. It doesn't even matter, blah, blah, blah. Like, they could do that later on. But if they would have done something like that and gave the humans an organic reason to kind of keep everything on the hushity-hush, it would have worked out better. But they just completely just removed all that. Yeah. All the stakes just completely removed. And that's how this movie felt empty. Like a Transformers toy in a box. Light, empty. Hard as shit to transform. All those fucking toys are hard as shit to transform. It's fucking annoying. You try to do it, pieces don't work. They break off. You try to fold them. It's annoying. It's dumb. So you would have to say that this one would not reach up to the first 4 then.
Yeah, no.
I would say they wouldn't reach up to the first 5. I personally enjoyed 5 for what it was, even though I know it's probably like the last one, and Michael Bay was kind of like checked out by that one. It's fine, but I still kind of give it its flowers for what we got. And for them to just be like, oh yeah, we're gonna connect to 07. Let's introduce Unicron, but then nothing really happens with Unicron, which I guess that's keeping with continuity because eventually now by not 07, but when was the last one came out? Like in 2014, 2015, whatever. That's when Unicron's actually surfacing from the Earth and all that. So, I don't know, man. This movie just felt empty. If you can rank them real quick, how would you put them?
3, 1.
Oh, which way are you going? First to last or last to first?
Oh, first I was doing...
Because there's 6 movies.
I was doing first to
There's 7 movies.
I was doing first to last. Are we doing bottom to top?
Yeah, do last to first.
Oh, okay. The last night, that's the last one. Then it's... I know I talk shit about it, but it would have to be the 4th one. No, wait. It's the last night, and then it's... Yeah, Rise of the Beasts. And then it'll go 2, Bumblebee... 3 and then 1.
Oh, you put Bumblebee high up there.
No, wait, 1 then 3. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I really like the 3rd one. Dark of the Moon is like my favorite one.
Top tier for you.
Yeah,
I would say so too. I would put Rise of the Beast last on my list. Put that one last. I'd put 5 right there. 5. Then Bumblebee. Then the second one. No. Then Age of Extinction. Then the second one. The first one, and then the 3rd one is my first. Yeah. I would say it like that, because Michael Bay is always top tier for me. The other ones are cool. Bumblebee, it's not that I have an issue with it, because I honestly think it's better than a good chunk story-wise. It just gets boring. Not a lot of fighting in there, and, me being, you guys can say what you want, me being, from watching the first one in theaters in 07, seeing all the fights and battles and stuff like that, that's what I associate with Transformers movies now. Like, I want to see that action. I want to see the transformations. I want to see them beat each other up. It's fun. Especially in the second one when Optimus took out those 3. It's fucking fun. It's just this one had the fighting in it, but it just didn't have the realism. It didn't feel like the hits were real. Because I know people are going to be like, well, this one did have fighting. It did have fighting, but not
enough fighting.
It's not that it wasn't enough. It just didn't feel real.
Yeah, there was
nothing.
There was no
felt
no weight behind any punch.
No weights, nothing at all. When you seen them get knocked back, I think the only real hit that I was like, ooh, throughout the whole movie was the first fight with Scourge when he was fighting Optimus Prime, and him and Optimus Prime were actually going at it, and then he pushes him against that pole or whatever, and he kind of just like, and Optimus goes, oh, like that was the first time and the only time where I felt like the hits felt real. And everything else after that was just like, nope. Nope.
Yeah, and it really sucks because there would have been a lot more if it was just the case. Because even Bumblebee's scene where he quite literally destroys the jet one, the flying one. You don't feel much. You're like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then it moves on, and you're just like, well, there you go. Like that was it.
That whole and that's what I said when I seen the first trailer for this movie. That whole one shot scene where, they're on the field and you see the scorpions and it's just you see them all fighting and everybody's like, oh, that's fucking cool. I can't believe it. They're finally gonna do it. They're gonna give us
shot. Whatever.
Yeah. It looked like shit in the movie, and then to see it happen in the movie, it just felt out of place because I think. The first, it was Bumblebee coming back and, them turning the tide, and then it pans to that where, it's the one shot. And then it goes straight to Noah, and it's like, I understand you're trying to show us all aspects, but focus on one thing at a time. If we're focusing on the humans, let's focus on them.
Yeah.
If we're going to focus on the Transformers whooping ass, let's focus on them for a little bit. You can't go back and forth too much because it's a lot of information. Now we got to worry about Bumblebee in the middle of the fight with these guys, and then we got to worry about Noah, and then we're over here watching Optimus Prime and Primal beat somebody up. It's like, we want to see everything, but give it to us in a way where it's digestible. And I feel like a lot of the fights in other previous films felt that way, where this one, it just felt like they're telling me they got to meet up. They're telling me we got to get these money shots. We need to put them in there. And it doesn't matter which way we edit them, as long as we get them all in the movie.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where, I always say it, you can always tell with these franchises now, especially if they move away from like the original person who has an original tone, who has,
Yeah.
This one felt like trying to copy Michael Bay, but just can't live up to him, where Michael Bay just felt like the real deal. This one tried to do his 3 Bs, which is what? Boobs, butts, and battles or whatever the fuck it's called. This one, and it had boobs or butts, but it tried to get the battles right, and even then the battles wasn't. The battles weren't really that great either.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Not very good.
Yeah.
All this one really makes me do is
want to go watch the original ones.
Rewatch the other ones. If I'm being so honest with you, like it's that lackluster where I'm just like, I want what I want. Like I want the manja. Like I want the shit. Like it's not good. The hell, I'd go back and rewatch Bumblebee at this case because at least that gives me some sort of fix. But it's just this one tries to do a lot, and with this franchise, I know they want to like tiptoeing the line between using the ones from the original movies versus a whole new cast, and like having Roger's cool, but like I honestly, you'd have more bang for your dollar if you just used Ironhide, Ratchet,
Bumblebee,
and all those ones that we know. But hell, if
I would
you
just
want to
say,
change it up, show us Ironhide, show us Hot Rod, or I think he died in Bumblebee, but like it would have been cool to see him, like things like that.
I don't know what it is, man, but I hate when everybody calls him like B, because at this point, Shia LaBeouf did it, Mark Wahlberg did it, Haley Steinfeld did it, now he did it. I'm just like, B's a whore. This man's a whore, because he just lets anybody just fucking come up to him and be fucking bro down. Like, he just doesn't, I would assume, because in the first one, he was kind of like, he was very out there, but he was very cautious on who he was going to talk to. And I think it was since the fourth one when, with Mark Wahlberg, they were never directly associated, so it was kind of weird that Bumblebee really felt kind of cool with him or whatever, but at the same time, they still had that beef.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're just another human, you're not my human.
Yeah.
And then in Bumblebee, it was kind of like, oh, this is my human, And like, oh, this is who I hang out with. And then in this one, it was just like, no, he's just Bumblebee.
He had no connection with anyone.
Nothing. He was just like, yeah, it's cool to see a human. It's like, and then at one point, they tried to harp off what happened in Bumblebee, and it was like, who cares? Who cares? Nobody cares.
Yeah. There was just no connection here to the humans or anything like that. And while they are cool, you're just like, why? They don't have what Sam had. That's why there was this whole debate about like, oh, where Sam versus him, like who's better? And I'm like, Sam, all the way, Sam. He doesn't even have a cool suit, and I still choose Sam.
I'm telling you, everybody else makes sense. This is the only movie that doesn't make sense in pulling them in. Every other movie makes sense.
I'm telling you, just give me my Cybertron movie. That's all I care about.
Honestly, but I think we're gonna get that with Chris Hemsworth's animated one.
Yeah, it's a prequel to the prequels, y'all.
But before we give you guys our ranking, and
we're gonna talk about the ending.
We're gonna talk about the ending. Now, spoiler. I mean, we've been spoiling this movie kind of like crazy, but this one's gonna be the very ending spoiler. So if you guys have not seen it yet, please go watch it and then come back, witness it for yourself. But at the end, we get that reveal, right? Mm-hmm. Transformers isn't doing too good. How are we gonna bank?
How are we gonna spice it up?
Put another hot toy in there.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
So it seems like G.I. Joe is gonna be a part of it. Now, will we see Noah again? Who knows? Because they said that his military background, and they were like, if you want to join or whatever, we'll have a slot. So this movie didn't do so well in the box office, so who knows if we're going to see Noah again. Maybe in a small capacity somewhere out down the line. Who knows?
Maybe this movie just launches him into G.I. Joe.
Imagine. That'd be crazy. What do you think we're going to see later? What do you think that we're going to get out of this?
Depending if we do get something out of it, I honestly would be down for this little connection to see them kind of work together, kind of like with the Bay movies where you had the people from Sector 7, the military, working with the Autobots. Like, that'd be cool. And, like, especially if they're going to be high-tech and stuff, like, I can see that totally working out.
I think they're going to do G.I. Joe hunting the Transformers.
You think so?
I think so. I think they're going to be like, oh, now we know they're walking among us. We need to take them out quietly because of what happened here and blah, 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 blah. Like, they can easily take us out, and we're going to be defenseless. And then I think towards the end, obviously, that they're going to ally to defeat their one true enemy, which it's wait to be seen if this movie's even going to take off. But I think that's probably how it's going to work out.
Yeah, and then you'll get a spin-off of G.I. Joe or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's like the main thing I can see. That just their crossover. I don't really see another movie unless this is them just trying to revive the IP and like boost off of Transformers. I don't know, but
I think that's what they're gonna try to do, because at one point they did cross over in the shows cartoons and stuff, but it's just how they're gonna make it work with continuity with 07, because at that point you're gonna be like, well, where was the G.I. Joe when the first Battle of Chicago happened, right? And then what happened in the second one, the Battle of Egypt? What happened with that one? And the second battle of Chicago, like where is the G.I. Joe when the second battle happened? The first one we give you a pass, but the second one 2 times, my boy, come on.
The second one was much bigger. We're just saying, they should have had your help. Snake Eye should have been in there chopping Transformer head off.
Something. But it's. I know it still remains to be seen, but and you just recently seen the new. Or not the new G.I. Joes, but you've recently seen the G.I. Joe movies because, I made you sit down and watch them. Mm-hmm. But can you see that world colliding with this world? Can you see these characters going together? Obviously, they're going to have to change the G.I. Joe tone, but either which way, and they're probably going to have a whole new cast. But either way, 2 different worlds colliding. How do you feel like that's going to work out on screen?
I don't know, man. It'll be a lot of shit going on. That's just the weird thing about it, right? Because now you have 2 colliding things. Like I don't want one to outshine the other in this case. I want them to like kind of work together to do this. Like, I don't want the G.I. Joes to take a back seat, even though I just, kind of got into them because of the movies you showed me. And then I don't want the Transformers to take a back seat either to boost up this IP that's kind of been dead since those movies, It would just be weird. I need them to work together or keep them separate, like use this, like I said, as a jumping point to launch their own franchise again, because otherwise it just doesn't work. So whatever route they go, I hope it for the best of both franchises, and it doesn't just become this one big convoluted mess of just like, oh, remember that one movie where the Transformers and G.I. Joe worked together and that shit just did terribly? Like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want a movie where they're like, these 2 iconic heroes or whatever, and it fucking bombs. I know we don't want that. So I'm hoping that they really make something out of this. I personally like G.I. Joe, the Retaliation one with Dwayne Johnson. I know they're probably not going to bring him back and bring these people back. They're probably going to have a whole new cast to start it off. I personally think that this movie could do good. It's just how they handle it. And if they're going to do another they're gonna have to spend money on Transformers, and then they're gonna have to spend money on like their secret agent stuff and whatever they're doing, and that could be done a little bit more practically to save money, but it's still gonna be a good ticket.
Yeah,
I don't know. It seems like it's a good idea to reboot the brand. On paper for sure, but the execution, and I wonder how much buzz this generated, because I don't think I've seen a lot of people talking about this. Like I think the only person I saw talking about it was Soups. And he was kind of like, I'm so hyped, but he's hyped about everything.
He's hyped, yeah.
Give him a fucking glizzy. He'd be like, I fucking love it.
I fucking love hot dogs.
Yeah.
Give me another glizzy movie. I don't know. I don't know how this can do, especially if this movie did do that poorly. We'll just have to see. Maybe it just had bad timing. Maybe we'll give it that. Maybe
that month was stacked. That was like with John Wick 4, like that. There was no way that movie was gonna beat out all of them, and it had a 91% on audience score.
Yeah,
the Rotten Tomatoes score.
There's a fan service here.
There's a fan base, so it will happen. But let us know out there whether or not Rise of the Beast was your favorite movie. We will obviously want to talk to you guys about it as well.
Yeah.
But with that, we're wrapping up here, and I want to know what you rank this one from 1 to 10. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Where do you put this movie?
Compared to the rest, or maybe not compared to the rest. Actually, I'll give you both. Compared to the rest, it doesn't do what it's supposed to. Everything is just lackluster. It's honestly, I told you when I finished it, it's just a very average film. It's nothing spectacular. It doesn't do anything groundbreaking. Also, it's just average. I gotta give it like a 6 out of 10, and then that's just comparing it to the rest. With it standing alone as a Transformers movie, same thing. I'd give it like a 5. Like it's just, it feels very mid to me. It's not very like good.
I say like that as well. As a Transformers movie in the world of Transformers, I give it a 4. I gotta give it a 4 because to me, it's below average. Yeah. I kind of felt, what's the best one? Like I said, the best one, Dark of the Moon. That's where the bar is. Yeah. And I'd say the 5th one is as low as you can go. And if I prefer the 5th one over yours, it's pretty bad, because the 5th one was pretty bad, you know? I will say that it's a 4 with the rest of them. But on its own, I will give it a 5. Okay. Because it's a mid movie. If I just wanted to pop it on, I tried watching it a second time. I had to take a break. That shit got a little too boring for me. But if I ever want to pop it on, I could pop it on and I can just, listen to it in the background. Like I said, Noah's a good character, and he reminds me a lot of like a younger John Lugamo. I don't know his last name, but he reminds me of a young him, and I think seeing him on screen when I was watching it the first 2 times, I was like, yeah, this guy is actually pretty good. I would want to see him in a better movie. Yeah. So I think he's a star. I think the girl that played Elena is a star as well, because I seen her in Power and all that. I think she could do so much better. So much better. And I've seen some deleted scenes where they cut. I guess she had a scene with the bird where they kind of like try to make the humans and the primal kind of like relatable, and I guess that was going to lead to the whole emotional scene that did happen, but they cut it out. So during the movie, I was just like, they didn't, there wasn't much for her to do, and they could have completely cut her out, and she probably would have been able to save face if she wasn't in this movie. Yeah. But because she was in this movie, she's going to be obviously directly associated with it, unless people forget about it and be like, well, that one chick, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot she was even in that movie. You know what I mean? Like, so she can still play it off. The little kid too, I think he has a future, and I think, if they want to bring back the primals, bring them back in present day, after the Bay films, and let's see how they look as like actual modern day Transformers. Because I'm sure that's why they're also doing these clunky designs in the 90s and the 80s, because they know that that's the era it's associated with. It's like the conversations that we bring up when we're like, oh, should Superman's theme be, for today, or be left back then? We know that we're in that era when we remember that era, which is the 90s, the 80s, the Transformers. Those kinds of transformations belong back there. If you want a modern take, you're going to want to watch the newer Transformers, basically the Bayverse Transformers. you're not going to want to watch those. And that's why I say Bumblebee's that solid in between ground, because it feels like it's, they wanted to be kind of like Bay, but then at the same time they wanted to do their own thing, so it kind of it worked. This one, it kind of seemed like they wanted to do their own thing, but they just couldn't help but like look over at Bay's test and be like, yeah,
that's what he did.
Yeah, that's what I want to do that too. I mean, down to the damn henchmen, the little monkey looking things. You're telling me they could blast through a fucking door, but they couldn't blast through a window door? That shit was annoying. When they were like escaping, I thought it was funny when she was like, stop following me. And he was like, I'm not following you. I'm just escaping the same way you are. And they're like running down the stairs. And you see them, they're like looking at her, about to get her. And he's just looking at her like, oh, fuck. Like, should I save her? I would have been like, I would have said deuces and hit like, the dip.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, man, I saw on its own, solid 4, 100%. Solid 4, and then as a Transformers film, I'd give it a 5 at least. But I'd say take my solid 4 and run with that. If you guys want to check it out, like I said, audience score gave it a 91. You guys might be in that majority where you guys really like this movie,
for sure.
That's fine. But as a fan of the Bayverse ones and a fan of at least Bumblebee as well, this one just missed the mark. Yeah, it doesn't live up. It missed the mark on so many levels that it could have been honestly winning at. I mean, it's the 90s. They played a lot in the 90s. The nostalgia factor was there. They showed Pac. I think they talked heavy about Brooklyn for some reason. It was just a lot of Brooklyn, but it's fine. They had something. They had something here, and I felt like they were too busy trying to copy off somebody else's test that they just couldn't. They couldn't live up to it.
Yeah,
they couldn't live up, and that sucks, especially for Stephen Cable Jr. because I like Creed 2, and it seems like this is also another big one. I'd say he can have another shot at one of these movies if they wanted to give it to him with the G.I. Joe. It's just they would have to need at least Michael Bay to produce, or somebody with a little bit more experience to give that eye with the transformations, and I think we would be good. And at least with the plot too. Maybe a better writer.
Yeah, for sure. Just change it up next time. Do something different. Show us the Primals again if you want, or I mean, hell, show us the Dinobots with their original forms if you're really leaning into this Gen 1 shit like that. Like people will eat that up.
Yeah, see, that's the tow truck. Oh, okay, so that one was a tow truck, but the other dude's like a older truck. I'm trying to see if they show it in this one. It doesn't look like. It's funny how they showed all the cool scenes in the trailer.
Yeah, weird.
It's funny if you hear the behind the scenes, that whole parade thing that they had to actually film during the parade, and they had to, I guess, because normal people haven't really been on that mountain in so long, they actually had to like ask for permission and see if they would allow them to record there, and they had to actually participate to be on their good side and everything like that. I was like, damn, they're doing a lot for this movie.
Anything for their money.
Yeah, anything for the money. But with that being said, we're going to close it up here. I give it a 4. Josh gives it a 5? 5? Solid 5? Mm-hmm. Go check it out if you guys want to check it out. Then come have the conversation with us. Interact with us. If you guys want us to review a certain movie, if you guys have topics that you guys want us to discuss here on this podcast, Josh, let them know where they can let us know and where they can support us in a big way.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at FilmBros Podcast. We post when new episodes are up. You can hit us up there for any news or movies you want us to cover. Listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, things like that. We're on a bunch of sites, so go listen. Buzzsprout, support us in a big way. Links are in those bios I just gave you, of the socials I just gave you. You get special shout-outs, perks, things that only subscribers get, and you support us to make this show better for you. And then, when it's all said and done, subscribe to our YouTube at FilmBros Podcast.
Yeah, and with that being said, we will talk to you guys on the next one.
Talk to you guys later.